Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS warns against COVID-19 fraud, other financial schemes. IR 2020-119, June 8, 2020, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service today reminded taxpayers to guard against tax fraud and other related financial scams related to COVID-19. In the last few months, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, CI, has seen a variety of economic impact payment, EIP, scams and other financial schemes looking to take advantage of unsuspecting taxpayers. CI continues to work with law enforcement agencies domestically and abroad to educate taxpayers about these scams and investigate criminals perpetrating them during these challenging times. So obviously the IRS is putting out a lot of money with these distributions. They're doing it fast. This is a whole new type of thing that is happening. And they're also going out to people sometimes that don't actually file tax returns. So this is a big place, or people that want to scam would see that as an opportunity. So there's going to be probably heightened scams out there, and we got to be more vigilant about how to guard against them and have some new techniques to do so, considering the fact that some of these things are going to be new and changes, including the economic impact payment. Quote, criminals seize on every opportunity to exploit bad situations, and this pandemic is no exception, end quote, said IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig. Quote, the IRS is fully focused on protecting Americans while delivering economic impact payments in record time. The pursuit of those who participate in COVID-19 related scams, intentionally abusing the programs intended to help millions of Americans during these uncertain times, will long remain a significant priority of both the IRS and IRS-CI, end quote. Criminals are continuing to use the COVID-19 economic impact payments as cover for scams to steal personal information and money. Scams related to COVID-19 are not limited to stealing EIPs or economic impact payments from taxpayers, however. CI has already seen scams related to the organized selling of fake at-home test kits, offers to sell fake cures, vaccines, pills, and advice on unproven treatments for COVID-19. So obviously the COVID-19 is a new thing. So when you have a new virus out there, there could be scams related to it, you would think. People saying that they have a cure that's not out yet there yet, it hasn't been approved yet, or something like that, something along those lines. So obviously you want to be more careful in those situations as well. Back to the text. Other scams purport to sell large quantities of medical supplies through the creation of fake shops, websites, social media accounts, and email addresses where the criminal fails to deliver promised supplies after receiving funds. So obviously the collecting the information, the credit card information for these types of supplies that are in high demand at this point in time, and then not actually providing the supplies would be another type of kind of fraud that can be used in this kind of time. Back to the text, quote, criminals try to take advantage of our most vulnerable times and our most vulnerable populations, but because we have seen many of these criminals and schemes before, we know how to find them and we know how to expose them, end quote, said Don Fort, chief of IRS Criminal Investigation. Quote, and because COVID-19 is a global problem, it requires a global solution. Not only are we leveraging our financial investigative experts domestically, we are working hand in hand with our J5 partners on those COVID-19 cases that cross borders. There truly is no place for criminals to hide, end quote. And this is a huge thing, of course, because if they can work across borders, that can help them a lot to be able to pick up people, especially if the fraud is taking place on like internet scams or something like that, especially with that kind of shipping one, ordering medical supplies possibly with someone in another country. So possibly the ability for people to be on the same page with regards at least to the COVID-19 may actually allow them to pick up and find some more of these type of criminals than they maybe normally could with that kind of thing in just a normal case when you're considering cross-border situations. Back to the text. Other COVID-19 related scams involves setting up fake charities, soliciting donations for individuals, groups, and areas affected by these diseases. So if you're going to be putting money into a charity, you want to do some research before on the charity, because a new charity would not sound unfamiliar. Like if someone made up a new charity about COVID-19 or a fake one, many people wouldn't know the difference, and therefore you might give to a charity not knowing the difference, whereas generally you'd probably give charitable money only to those charities which you know and have some kind of trust in. So if you're putting money into a COVID-19 charity, you probably want to put, do your research and pick the right one. Back to the text. Some criminals are offering opportunities to invest early in companies working on vaccine for diseases, promising that, quote, company will dramatically increase in value as a result. These promotions are often styled as, quote, research reports, end quote, make predictions of a specific, quote, target price, end quote, and relate to micro cap stocks or low price stocks issued by the smallest of companies with limited publicly available information. So obviously, and this is another kind of common type of scam when these types of things happen that could be heightened at this point in time, which is to sell those stocks that really have no value behind them, just basically a shell company possibly, and in this case, of course, targeting the new research type of situation to get money back into the research for those types of things. So another thing to keep aware of. Back to the text. Finally, CI has also seen a tremendous increase in phishing schemes utilizing emails, letters, text, and links. And this, of course, is what we would kind of expect to see on this too, with this information, or the more earned income credits and whatnot, trying to get information so that people can then see if they can manipulate and see if they can pick up these payments. So that means anything that's going to be an increased, anything that has an email that basically has a link to it or an attachment is almost certainly not something that came from the IRS. So you basically don't want to open it. And when you do want to research something, if you want to research it, you want to go to basically the IRS directly, not through the link on the website or on the email, but to the website directly. Text messages is not typically a way that the IRS will contact people either. So if there's an urgent text message from the IRS, that is almost certainly not not the case. The letters is something that more likely an IRS would get, but they're usually going to be standardized type of letters. And again, to check on the letters, if they send you out a letter, they typically have a good record of the letter. So you want to call the IRS directly if you have any questions about the letter, and then verify from the source. Back to the text. These phishing schemes are using keywords such as coronavirus or COVID-19 and stimulus in varying ways. These schemes are blasted to large numbers of people known by the bad actors in an effort to get personally identifying information or financial account information, to include account numbers and passwords. Most of these new schemes are actively playing on the fear and unknown of the virus and the stimulus payments. Coronavirus-related COVID-19 scams should be reported to the National Center for Disaster Fraud, NCDF hotline. So if you get these scams, it's useful to report them. There's a link to that here. There'll be a link to this in the description, and then they can, they'll just be able to take that information. They're probably not going to be able to do anything specifically at that point in time, but you want to collect the information so that they can build that up in their database and have be aware of this type of thing. So there's also the phone number 866-720-5721. Or submitted through the NCDF web complaint form. There's a link to that here as well. There'll be a link to this in the description. The NCDF is a national coordinating agency within the Department of Justice's Criminal Division, dedicated to improving the detection, prevention, investigation, and prosecution of criminal conduct related to national and man-made disasters and other emergencies such as the coronavirus COVID-19. Hotline staff will obtain information regarding your complaint, which will then be reviewed by law enforcement officials. Taxpayers can also report fraud or theft or their economic impact payment to the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, TIGTA. Reports can, and there's a link to that here, reports can be made online. TIGTA investigates external attempts to corruptly interfere with federal tax administration, including IRS-related coronavirus scams. Also, taxpayers can always report phishing attempts to the IRS. Those who receive unsolicited emails or social media attempts to gather information that appear to be from either the IRS or an organization closely linked to the IRS, such as the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, EFTPS, should forward it to the phishing at irs.gov. There's a link to that here. Taxpayers are encouraged not to engage potential scammers online or on the phone. So they're basically saying don't call them back, even if you don't want to typically engage them. Even if you know they're a scammer, it's best to just leave the email, respond, give the information to the IRS if you could, and then if you have any questions about the legitimacy of it, go to the IRS website directly. Go to the source, back to the text. Learn more by going to the Report Phishing and Online Scams page on irs.gov. Official IRS information about the COVID-19 pandemic and economic impact payments can be found on the Coronavirus Tax Relief. There's a link to that page here. Page on the irs.gov, which is updated frequently.